I'm Bambi Francisco for this segment of Lessons for Entrepreneurs. Well, Stanley Kirk Burrell, more famously known as MC Hammer, is an internet innovator as well as a cultural legend. He's left a lasting influence on hip-hop culture and music, and he joins me now for this segment of Lessons for the Entrepreneurial Community at Vader. Hammer, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Well, you've had quite an enterprising life as an innovator with your music. You also were the rap artist that brought rap music to mainstream by promoting and marketing for major brands. What have you learned from this experience about building a company?
Well, it's been very beneficial to have been a innovator in dance, an innovator in music videos. At some point in Hollywood, there was a point where directors would insist that, or artists, I should say, would insist that directors give them the hammer cut on their videos, which was part of the way I visualized seeing dance early on. And so when I used to cut my videos, I'd literally go in with the director and the actual editor and sit down and suggest when a move ends at a certain point, it's time to cut to the next move, and let's do it at a certain pace to match the energy that if you saw this live, this is kind of what you would get from me, because I freestyle a lot. And so anyway, the hammer cut became a part of the Hollywood culture for cutting videos, and then that went on into commercials and other things like that. And so from being an innovator in that aspect, it's very helpful in the launching of a business like DanceJam, which again focuses not only on user-generated video, but premium content also that has other applications with a lot of emerging video-driven technologies out there that are very exciting. You know, things like collaborative video and some other things that I'm excited to utilize these new tools.
Now you are Chief Strategy Officer, so very much involved in management. Now, you had an interesting stint when you were about 13 years old. You worked for the Oakland A's as an informant.
No.
Okay, maybe not. So maybe okay. Sorry.
No.
Yeah.
I worked for the Oakland A's as the assistant to the owner of the team, whose name was Charles O. Finley, and I was made the youngest executive vice president in America. I went on ABC's Kids Are People 2 when I was 16. I had been there already for about 4 years, and it was a tremendous experience. While he would negotiate contracts with people like Reggie Jackson, Vida Blue, and others from the glory days of the Oakland A's, he would have me sit in and listen to his lawyer, who at the time was a very famous lawyer by the name of Neil Papiano, and I would sit in the corner and listen to some of the negotiations, and so that was also very helpful to my career as I became a musician known as MC Hammer. At the time, Reggie Jackson had named me Hammer. So that experience, the joke that you had just told about informant was that when I was a kid, because I was so close to the owner, some of the players would make jokes when I come in and say, "Oh, here comes a little pipeline. He's going to tell on us."
I like that.
And so that's what that was all about.
So what did you learn about managing from that experience?
Well, again, by sitting in on contract negotiations themselves, literally, I learned the behavior patterns of lawyers in negotiations. And when I began to either negotiate on behalf of myself or to direct my lawyers in my negotiations, it was not new territory to me. So it was very, it was a very great added value to my skill set to be able to talk, contractual terms at a very young age and understand it.
Yeah. Who's your role model as an entrepreneur?
My role model as an entrepreneur, wow, it would probably be a collection of a few people. There's a tremendous amount of great entrepreneurs out there. Mine tend to run the gamut, and so from the technology side, I have certain individuals that I love the way they built their companies and keep control of the companies and or market the companies. So it would be industry driven. I would say in this industry, I like this guy. If it's the music industry, I like this particular entrepreneur. If it's the fashion business,
besides yourself in the music industry, who's an entrepreneur that's innovative?
Well, let's say that I would have to say that Russell Simmons did a tremendous job of understanding how to market hip hop, and then spin that same philosophy into how to market Fat Farm clothing, and also how to market himself as a brand. He's done a tremendous job over the years at marketing what he achieved, and then taking the same principles of that to create his fashion, his apparel, tennis shoes, and some of the other. He's a serial entrepreneur, so some of the other things that he's done. Russell is definitely an inspiration in that aspect.
How has he inspired you? What are you taking from him that you're trying to carry on in your venture?
Well, I think the main thing again is brand management and optimization of branding. So Russell has done a tremendous job with the brand of at one point DanceJam, and what DanceJam meant, and I'll expound on that. So at some point you would buy a record from DanceJam just based upon the brand DanceJam. It didn't even matter who the artist was. Everything that was coming out of DanceJam had a certain cultural relevance to it and hotness to it because of the way that Russell Simmons and Leor Cohen marketed the brand of DanceJam. It wasn't the first time. Berry Gordy did it with Motown, and at some point, all things Motown you would automatically buy based upon the brand. And so I very much, took a lot from both of them, because certainly I tipped my hat to Berry Gordy. So Berry Gordy did it for soul music that was commercialized, pop music at the time, and Russell Simmons did it for rap music, hip hop music, before I did. And then when I came along, I took what he done and then added a lot of the principles that I learned from the Oakland A's and from Charles Finley, who was only second in a lot of, arguably in a lot of people's opinion, to Bill Veeck, who was considered the greatest marketer in the history of Major League Baseball. And they did a lot of great marketing activities that were non-traditional, and they paid off.
So entrepreneurs who are great marketers, those are the ones you look up to.
Yes.
One of the other characteristics of a great entrepreneur, I would think, is someone who's resilient. Someone who can really come back and redefine themselves. And just to ask you, something in Wikipedia that said, you were known for your dramatic rise to and fall from fame and fortune. How do you take that when you read that, or has that strengthened you?
Well, actually, because I guess because I have a firm understanding of who I am and what I have actually achieved versus sound bites. Because you never fall from fame. Fame is, you'll always fame. Your fortune can change. It can go up and down. Certainly now here in Silicon Valley, there are thousands of businesses that crashed and burned by some of the most brilliant people in the world, literally. This is a place where a lot of people with 4.0 and 4.5 and 4.3 grade point averages start businesses, and certainly in 2001 we saw the crashing and burning and subsequent bankruptcies of billions of dollars. And so there is certainly a parallel where brilliant men can understand that sometimes in businesses it doesn't go according to plan, and you don't let that stop you from continuing to create or stop you from continuing to start business. If you're an entrepreneur, you take the best of what you learned from that business and you carry it into your next business, and the worst of it you leave behind, and you try not to repeat the same mistakes. And that's what I've learned certainly over the years. Some of the serial entrepreneurs that I look up to have had 10, 15 companies, maybe 4, 5, 6 have gone bad and 7 have gone great. It's the process. It's a part of the process in anything, from your beginning steps in life until you, from stumbling and crawling to sprinting. At some place you stumble. Hopefully you get back up and keep running. I
don't know any entrepreneur, a great entrepreneur, that hasn't had any failures. Now, you mentioned mistakes and not repeating any mistakes. Once you had you amassed a great fortune, you also amassed a lot of material things, such as 2 gold-plated hammer time gates, an entourage of 200 people, with monthly wages of $500,000. Maybe this is wrong or right, but would you do that again?
Well, let me qualify that. First of all, when it says an entourage of 200 people, it leaves undefined what the entourage did. The entourage were employees, all on the payroll. So would I build a company that has employees? Hopefully so, and hopefully successfully so. Would I hopefully be able to acquire material things from my great wealth? Absolutely. If you have wealth and you can afford to accumulate things, I don't know anybody who's watching Vader TV right now who wouldn't buy some things for themselves. If the question is meant to say that would you spend all of your personal money, then of course I wouldn't spend all of my personal money on my payroll, which is what I did the first time around. I literally employed 200 people from my personal royalties, from my record to my concert. So no, I wouldn't do it that way, but certainly I would hope to build businesses that are very successful, that can create an economy or wealth in the community where people can be employed. Absolutely.
Now, it says now you're also a preacher, so is that correct?
I absolutely am a minister.
Okay.
Who has been involved in ministry for many years, and very committed, going all the way back to we got to pray in order to make it today on my Please Hammer Don't Hurt 'Em album, which is a very big record for me. So absolutely very much committed to ministry, as well as business and family and life.
Is the biggest lesson in life for you, is it about business, or is it about how you live your life or who you are?
Well, I mean, they go hand in hand. I mean, the biggest lesson in life for me is humility. It's like even in this interview we're doing, it's my humility that allows me to answer a question from you that I think may be coming from left field or have really nothing to do with the relevance of what we're talking about, but I answer it anyway because humility says answer the question and move on.
Oh, well, we can't end it there. So there's 3 pieces of advice that you would share with the entrepreneurial community.
Well, the first piece of advice I would give any entrepreneur is to make sure that they do deals with people that they trust. So if they starting businesses, try to start it with a team of people that you trust. Secondly, be prepared for roadblocks, challenges, and there's not too many roadblocks or challenges that strategically you can't overcome, but you have to be prepared to think that there is going to be a couple of bumps in the road and be prepared to deal with them, no matter what they are. There's a solution. And thirdly, I would say that have faith. Have faith in yourself and faith in God, and that the businesses that you start can flourish.
Okay. And, well, you're an amazing dancer. Any lessons for dancers out there and struggling artists? And that's what your site is designed for, right? To find some great dancers out there. Well,
they'll find that at DanceJam. So at DanceJam, they'll find instructional dance and opportunities to do Broadway and to do plays and to do other things. They'll find all that at DanceJam.
And tell them to follow their dream and pursue it. And is that what you would also tell them? Stick with
absolutely, absolutely.
Okay. And final thing, do you want to give us a lesson in dance right now?
No, I think I danced around enough in this conversation.
Oh my gosh, you're not just a dancer; you're a very good interviewee. Thank you so much for sharing your insight. I'm sure the community really appreciates it. I've been speaking with MC Hammer, and I'm Bambi Francisco for Vader TV.